Hello Colorado owners, today we're taking a look at the eTrailer trailer hitch on a 2015 Chevy Colorado. Now this is going to be a great option for anyone really wanting to beef up how much you can tow or be able to hook up your accessories. From the factory, you are able to bumper tow. Now that does limit how much weight and towing capacity you have. So adding a hitch not only bumps that capacity up, but also it's easier to put accessories, maybe a bike rack or a cargo carrier on the back of your truck. This is going to be a class 3 trailer hitch, and you have your standard 2" by 2" opening, which is going to be great for a ton of different accessories that you can use with your hitch. You have a plate style safety chain loop, which has large openings, which is going to be great for larger crevasse style hooks or your standard hook when hooking up to a trailer. You'll also see it has a standard 5/8 hitch pin hole, which is going to be a necessity for a hitch pin to hold your accessories or your trailers in place. Now the hitch doesn't come with a hitch pin, but we do have plenty of those here at eTrailer. And if you really wanted to bump up for a little more security, we also have locking ones available as well. Now going from a small weight capacity from just bumper towing to an actual hitch, that really bumps your numbers up. Now how much? Well, you'll be able to pull a gross trailer weight of 8,000 pounds, and that's going to be the weight of the trailer plus the accessories loaded on there. You also have a tongue weight of 800 pounds, which is the downward pressure on the inside of the receiver tube opening. Now this can be used with weight distribution, and that's going to bump the numbers up even more. So that's going to move the gross trailer weight up to 10,000 pounds and your tongue weight to 1,000. Now, it's important to check your vehicle's owner's manual to see what the vehicle's actually capable of towing, and you're going to want to compare that with the capacities of the hitch itself. Between those two numbers, take the lowest one just to be safe. So now let's take a few measurements that can be important. So, as you can tell, the opening here is pretty flush to the bumper, and from the middle part of our hitch pin hole to the outside part of the receiver tube opening is going to put you right at 3 inches. And that's going to be important to note when putting your accessories and loading them up to make sure that they don't make contact with your bumper or the fact that they can clear here. Sometimes accessories can stick out a little bit and that might cause an issue. Something else that you want to make sure that you measure is from the top of the inside of the receiver tube opening to the ground, and that's going to be 19 inches, and that's going to be your ground clearance. And that's also important to note for any accessories that you're putting on here to make sure that they don't have any ground clearance, especially when going up hills, as those accessories can drop down. Now with this being 19 inches, I don't expect you to have too many issues, but something to note. The installation process is fairly straightforward as you are using the existing hardware when attaching the hitch to the vehicle. Now with that, you do have the existing hardware that's been on the vehicle. So if you have higher miles or drive in an area with salt or road grime that really has chewed away at that, those bolts can be a little bit difficult to get loose. So I do suggest maybe soaking them in a penetrating oil before tackling that task, and that's going to help loosen those up. I also recommend having a long breaker bar, as you may need that for leverage. To begin our install, we're going to need to lower our spare tire down, and that way we have clearance to work in. So let's go ahead and do that. Our next step is going to be removing the 4 13mm bolts, and that's going to take the spare tire bracket down. Next, we're going to be removing the 4 bolts that attach the safety chain hook here. Now the bumper also is supported with those same 4 bolts. So if you're on the ground, this may be actually quite a bit easier, but just know that this bumper can drop down. So you might support it with a jack or just have your hands ready for it. Before I drop these 21s out, I do notice that this wiring harness is attached with the plastic plug. So go ahead either with a trim panel removal tool or a flathead, pry that out. If you don't have a trim panel removal tool, we have these here at eTrailer. Now we can go ahead and loosen up our 4 21mm bolts. If your truck is a little bit older or you live in an environment where this kind of gets corroded, it might help to put a little bit of penetrating oil on these, and that's going to help loosen them up. Now, if you're having trouble getting those knocked loose with an impact, I'm actually taking a breaker bar, and that way I can put a little more torque on them and start the process of loosening them. Then I can go back with my my impact and knock them loose. Now that we have our 4 bottom bolts out, we're going to work on these side ones. You might not be able to get a impact in here, so just using a ratchet, take your time, and you may have to take a breaker bar to knock some of these loose. So I left my side bolts in just hand loose, and they should be able to come off pretty easily. So with a set of hands, we're going to take those out, and then we should be able to drop this down. Now with a third set of hands, we have one holding the bumper. We're going to set this hitch in place and hand tighten one of the bolts on the side to hold it. You're going to get one hand threaded on each side, and that way it'll hold it up for you. Now we can work on the alignment of the bumper to get those holes aligned on the side. So once you have your bolts hand tightened in, you'll have 4 on each side. Then you're going to be able to go and zip these up. Once you have all your bolts tightened down, we're going to go back with a torque wrench and set it to the specifications in the instruction manual. Now, if you don't have a torque wrench, we do have these here at eTrailer, or you can generally rent them at an auto parts store. But you're going to want to make sure that you are torquing them down properly. So now that everything's tightened and torqued to spec, the only thing left is to raise the spare tire back into place. Now, I will note the bracket that we took down earlier will not be able to go back on. So, zip this up and you're ready to hook up and tow.